Greetings, everybody. Billy O here uh, with season 5, episode 2 of the Huns Old Cast for July 17th, 2024. Today's very special guest is Huns stalwart John Biff Little. John, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, Bill. Thanks for having me. 5 years, man, time flies in general. But that's awesome. That you've been doing it this long, making content for the Huns. But yeah, I'm doing well, man, and excited for tonight's conversation.
Well, I want to first just remind everybody, Biff has played front row, second row, and all the third row positions in the times I've been watching the Hun. That's a very versatile player. He shows up, even though sevens isn't his maybe top skill. He shows up all summer long and plays sevens. John, you really contribute a lot to the club, and you're now one of the older players. When I first met you, you were one of the younger players. Talk to me a little bit, just really briefly, about your odyssey on the Huns the last, whatever it is, 8 or 9 years you've been with the club.
Yeah, it is 8 years, going on 9, so good memory there. Um, yeah, the the brief story there is I came to the Huns well, through, you don't see it as much anymore. Well, you don't see this at all. I came to the Huns through Ultimate Frisbee, in a way. I was playing. I was, moved to Austin 11 years ago, June 2013, and was looking for, to make friends. Hadn't met anybody, and then started playing Ultimate Frisbee, which I played in college. And I'm out there, and I get that's a sport where contact is frowned upon. And I had one particular play where I knocked some smaller guy in the mud, thinking if I came down with the disc, then it would definitely be our point. Anyways, that's like, you're a monster. I hear roars from the crowd of two people under a Zilker tree. Anyways, there's a little guy who's always out there, TJ Costello, comes up to me and says, "Man, you should really be playing rugby." And I was like, "Yeah, I know. I'd been a frequent of the East Side bars a lot of the time. And I had met a guy, and I was like, "Isn't there a team called the Blacks?" And he was like, "Yeah, you could go for the Blacks, and they're a really good rugby club. But I just get the sense from being around you that you really like kind of a family orientation and the boy and the people you're around. And I think the Huns would be the right fit for you." So I showed up. He put me in a group text with Hansel and Kirk. They said, "Sure, TJ, have the kid come out." I showed up that Tuesday training and haven't looked back in 8 years. So I got to be it's something I'm happy I got to experience, kind of several different versions of what it looks like out there. All the Huns, it's all the evolution, kind of of anything when you look back. But when in Kirk's era, still a Kirk run training in 2016 and him running that. And then the next year was when we had a lot of the whatever you want to call it, the HRM season, the near win the national championship, and a lot of great talent came in, a bunch of hubbub as we could get into or not. But anyways, and then after that, kind of all right, what do we really have here, and what do we want to do with it? And I'm proud to have been a part of all three of those kind of eras, and especially where we are right now.
I'm really glad, TJ Costello's contributed a lot to our club in a lot of areas. He used to do a lot of organizational things, I'm told, in Bloodfest. Um, Recruited you. I know he's recruited others. He's really big in touch rugby, too. He was an architect of the Hall of Fame stuff. So good on TJ and good on recruiting. I mean, you become a hell of a Hun for us. Really quick, I want to say that this episode of the Old Cast is brought to you by Harold Hoffman and the Marie Company. Harold tells me a lot of you guys are pronouncing the name wrong. It's Marie, even though it doesn't look like it. You spell his name wrong. It's not two F's, it's two N's. And there's his phone number. So spell it right, say it right, spell his name right, but whatever you do, call him. He's the best realtor in town. He has sold a lot of Huns their houses, and we're really grateful to have him. All right, on to sevens. This weekend, we had a great challenge. And by the way, I'm really happy to see an Austin club not fold in the final to the Reds. And you were on the microphone for that. And God, this team seems to play defense like crazy and really be able to gut it out when necessary. They're undefeated over the summer. Man, wow. Why don't you give me your thoughts? We'll start with this last tournament and just in general about the Premier side.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. So hell or high water this past weekend in Houston. Uh, Fate, and some other reasons. I've been saying this summer that, and it's kind of speaks to the team. Is why I say this is, oh man, I'm taking the summer off. Willis is like, hey, Biff, you playing sevens? We got to get you out there. Hope you can kind of like, nah, man, thanks. No need for the text every week. Like, I'll come around. And then this Saturday is like, I'm not doing anything, and a good reason ended up for me to go. And I'm so thrilled that I did make it to this traveling tournament because our premier side won every game they were part of, and they haven't lost a game all summer, match. Yeah, they tied once to Gorillas. And that's kind of like a smiling tie because they came back from I think 20 points down in Choctaw. But yeah, this past weekend, um, won every game, and then you have like as I was mentioning on our broadcast or the Facebook live feed, it's always a bit iffy when you're winning games by 20, 30, getting everything going your way. You kind of get nervous, like, oh, when they meet a team in the semis or the finals, which ended up happening, are they gonna are we gonna be able to withstand, some adversity, some pressure dropping? And man, they got down, credit to the Reds, led by Alex Reese and that team. They got, I think, they got two tries up on us. We scored right before half. Russ right on that edge, far away from the camera. And in the second half, I mean, they're just such a poised team. Something really special this summer is seeing, like, yeah, the horses are all there, man. It is some great collection of athletes, but coached under Ty Landry and Russ, Tyler Spitz, who used to play for the Huns, is in his first year coaching, and just they've really bought in and are playing really well together. It's a special, I can't overemphasize that, and it's not hyperbole. It's a very special group. It's a very talented sevens group, and that premier side we have this year. And every piece, I hope we kind of jump into it a bit. Every piece that you want to see from a sevens team and a program, as far as I've been told as a fan and as a guy around, we have, and you can really see that out there. So it's an exciting group.
I felt a little bit bad for Alex. I love Alex Reese. As you know, I played with his dad, and I love talking rugby with Alex Reese and you and Willis and a lot of others. But he got trucked bad twice, once for a try, and then he got juked really bad for that last try, just left in the dirt by Russ Webb. And I was talking to him the other day. He says, yeah, Russ Webb has a lot of moves. And what I wanted to ask you about, he seems A, like he's playing on a different level. He can see the game at a different level. And B, the guy seems to have an endless bag of tricks.
Now we're talking about Russ, not
Russ
Alex.
Webb. I switched to Russ in there. I said, I want to talk about Russ Webb for a minute.
Absolutely.
I didn't segue very smoothly, but he has a big bag of tricks.
Man, they're that guy is what you call worth the price of admission. Russ Webb. He I'm sitting there with Mateo, I'm playing with the thirds at Bloodfest. And the great thing we have at Bloodfest, I think the best, inarguable to me, the best tournament around, is we get all the Huns games are really on that premier side. Everybody who's not outside of Super Social, And so we get to watch a lot of them, but I'm getting over there, having a drink, talking to the team. Hey, good job, guys. Let's keep it going. And I'm hustling over there so I can see these guys play. And I'm just really, I'll just say what's in my head is in awe of this guy's ability, his foot. I'm never 1 in 15s, as anybody who plays with me will be laughing at this. Is like never a fan of kicking, especially when we do it in loose play. But that guy is like magic with it, man. And just seeing how there's an old sports saying, a high tide raises all ships. And I think that's I think about Lamani Tongo when I say that. He got the best out of everybody around him. They played their best rugby when Lamani was captain. I think it's the exact same thing you see with Russ Webb. You're honored to play around the guy, you're honored him to be around, and shoot, man, it is a pleasure to watch. So yeah, and that's from the fan seats, man. Like, you break into the rugby, the IQ is there. He can do whatever you do whatever he wants. Russ would, roll his eyes to that, but it seems like that anyway, right? That
He's
he,
fast too, isn't he? He's not our fastest player, maybe, but he sure looks fast to me.
man, as two guys who've never been able to say they were fast in their life, no offense, Bill, but I'll say that for myself. The guy is fast, and he picks his lanes to be fast.
Oh, yeah, fast is a relative term for a forward, isn't it true?
Yeah, there are some fast ones out there, but you got to make it with work rate when you don't have that speed. So yeah, Russ is great. And then as we kind of just keep chopping up about this premier team, um, the important parts too, and what I tried to highlight doing that broadcast, which is always it's so much fun for me to do, uh, is the guys around the team, some placements. So immediately when we're talking about that, comes to mind is um the glue guys that we have: Austin Willis, uh Ricky Chestnutwood, I think Case Fleck, similar vein. These guys, that RG is another one that uh may not be scoring as many tries. Of course they do, and they have steps. They're all sevens players and great players, but do just the lunch pail hard work of constantly making a tackle. Anything that happens there around on the field, and you can just feel them being in the right place, right time, doing the hard work, as made evident by Austin Willis. You look at right before, we're down 2 tries. No, we're down 1 try before we tied it. And I mean, Russ is a great restart kick. We've been winning them all day, but kicks one, and if it sails a little, if it goes untouched, then it's going out of bounds, and that's going to be their line out. They got a great line out, a lot of 15s line out specialists that I've played against for years. Totally different story. Austin Willis runs it down, gets right up over the 10, bats it back. They scoop it, but our team, again, so poised, so right on it, that we end up getting the ball back there, score in the middle, tie it, and then we had that fantastic finish where
Real
Russ.
quick, he
Go
also
ahead.
cleaned it up. You talked about it was being knocked around after he kicked it back in.
Yes.
He dove on the ball, rolled to protect it, put it back, cleaned it up. So he didn't just knock it in, he cleaned up the mess
Oh
and
yeah.
got the whole movement moving 2 different ways.
Absolutely. So you have that as far as those glue guys, those hard work guys being everywhere. And then you have this group I call like the middle pressure group. There's Aiden, we call him Ridgy, played last year, a return. Arkansas State, also from Zinzan El Puttick, another Arkansas State guy we had there. But Aiden, just his like ability to pressure the middle, and he came in, he flew in from being at an MLR. Again, this is just the fan zone. I'll have to fact check it, but flew in from being like an MLR tryout or a combine. Posted the #1 Bronco time out there. Some inside facts, and came back, flies in, makes the tournament there with the boys, running touch, doing things that a lot of guys like. I'm always avoiding running touch, Bill. I'll be wandering off. Oh, something is on over here, but doing that and getting in there. So he's one of those middle pressures. Kobe, in from Cal Poly, just a guy who a rock rugby kid. Same with Clayton Means. I talked about them and their families being there and the legacy of rugby
College
and rugby
kids.
coaching. Yeah.
We got
Um,
college kids playing on our club rugby sevens team in an environment where we're headed now to nationals, where some of these super teams are 100% fully professional.
yeah, I mean, there is a sevens in rugby of it's I man, I've been around, like I said, for 8 years and known about rugby for 8 years. So I'm always learning about the history. I love hearing about it and like with Ty and with Wheezy after every training, with anyone I've ever been around as a coach or anything about learning more about it. But in my scope, um, there's always been people paying players and some money involved, and you have to get guys to move here somewhere, and you have to find a room or a job. But yeah, it's special when you're trying to build constantly. That's what we're trying to do, is really build the club and our culture, and that's a constant, like a balance between what we have at Nixon and facilities. Also, it's always driven by rugby on the field. Like, that's why we're there. Rugby is our business, as Craig Wellborn used to say on the board. um, and I think it's a special thing to have. That's what we wanted to do with the scholarship program when we started it, or as it is known today. There was other efforts before that to get guys in, but since we started doing that, to see it where it is now with uh your homegrown people, and then those that we brought in, and then like Ricky Chestnutwood, first guy from Lindenwood, and then you look at the Lindenwood tree we've seen from then with Nick Taylor, just a baller back this summer, an everywhere guy. And then from Rock Rugby right here, it's such shout out to Rock Rugby with George Tavares, Kobe, Clayton Means, all Rock Rugby guys. I may be leaving somebody out. Indiana, you have Case Fleck and Alec in from Indiana. So guys, appreciate the culture, appreciate what we're putting forward in sevens. Go back to their school. That's the whole idea, is you'll remember from when we chopped that down, and
Yeah,
bring
I was
people
at
back.
that board meeting. I was at that board meeting, and I thought your passion to say, let's not spend money on international players. Let's do a little stipends type thing to help college kids come here for the summer, and let's find and build club men. And
Yeah.
you see leaders like Van Diver, so many others, the guys you're talking about, Chestnutwood, so many young guys that are doing things now on the board, fundraising, etc., came to us through this scholarship program. It's been a real recruiting tool for us, and it's helping us build the next wave of Huns leaders, don't you think?
Oh, without question. And we can put a period on it there, but and it's all under a branch of that. Just what makes me so proud of the guys, of what we have going, and just of that. We remember that night Adam and I walked into that board meeting and talked about, like, hey, here's one going, and then it's all I remember all evolutions. It's a lot of inside baseball and how it happened, as it came from a lot of sessions with Wheezy at Skylark after Tuesday trainings. Oh, how do we get these college kids back, and things like that. But what I'm most proud of is this year was the first year I was completely hands off. At first it was Adam and I, Adam finding the talent, me picking up the phone, trying to use the gift of gab to talk to guys to come in. And that's, man, Alex Reese was, if you'll remember, is built around like, how do we get this kid, like this kind of guy, a Huns legacy, playing high level rugby at college, and how do we get them back and come in here every summer? But now I'll get to the point, is this year being the first year I hands off, it was completely run, and it's gone way better than we ever had even imagined, faster, but completely run by guys who came from the scholarship program, and not just awardees, guys like Van Diver, who's done head over heels to make it what it is. Uh, he was a walk-on from San Angelo State. He came out here and is like, Adam called him back and said, hey, we've got an opening. Somebody dropped out. We're going to give it to a walk-on. He's like, all right, I'm coming. And he went out and found sponsorships for it, and it really made it what it is. So I'm very proud that it's like those former recipients have now taken ownership over it and running it themselves. So it couldn't have gone better than we first, sitting around thinking of the idea.
as you and I know, we could talk for hours, so we will put a pin in that for right now. Before we move on to my next question, again, Harold Hoffman, Marie Company, and you know what? Sidebar, as a side hustle, he's starting an OnlyFans page with this picture and his Speedo. So if you want to know more about Harold's OnlyFans page, give him a call on that too. Biff, it's not just the premier side. It's not just the scholarship guys. It's not just Bloodfest, which by the way went great this year. Team tournament fundraiser. We won, I think, two of the three trophies on the men's side. Let's talk about our overall sevens program this summer. You're leading the threes, I think. We've got 45 guys out at practice, a lot of guys playing for us. What's it like right now with our sevens program in the macro sets?
Man, great question, Bill. It's fantastic. I was there training last night, which says something because I've been saying like, oh man, I'll be Bloodfest, anything local. I'll go, of course, show up for the boys, and we're very proud of that third side streak we have going at Bloodfest. But it's I want to say the word addictive. It is such a culture of, man, you just want to be out there and be a part of it. As made evident is last night, we have a month. We just ended our last of the premier tournaments, of the qualifier tournaments. We ended this past weekend, and there's 40 guys out at training last night. We got field 1 and field 2 just fully packed with Huns players. And there's not it's one team going this weekend to Cherrybone in the Woodlands. And there's 45 guys out there hustling their tail off. And for that one side that's going, I think the coaches have a selection pool of like 25 to get to 13. And that's for a tournament in the middle of July that's playing on turf. It's amazing, and it is just such a credit to, there is that and they deserve renowned, that group that's returning, I should say, to Madison. Some different faces, some same faces, but it's 45 gentlemen out there, and that's a real credit to, this is all building on itself of what it is to be a Hun and be out there in the culture. So from the times that you're playing, build it forward. But in the most recent past, really from, Adam getting that start, a lot of those guys answered Adam's phone call, Adam Scheidler, that is, Adam's phone call to come out and to join the sevens, and then taken over by Zinzan last summer, bringing his knowledge and ability, but really putting that forward as a coach. And then Ty Landry, a guy who coached Adam Scheidler. I heard all the coaching stories about Ty, and El Azul Negro, I believe, was the name of their sevens team they had back in the early aughts, or whatever we call that era. And it is such a culture of competition, of wanting to be out there, supporting your boys. Those ones, the guys on that premier side going to nationals, they have a month, real easy time to be like, I'm going to go take care of my family stuff this week. But they're out there, they're pushing the seconds, and the seconds want to show everything they got. So that culture there is all through coaching and through player leadership. And it's a special group to be about, so much that I'm like, I ended going to training and being with them last night on that more that structured side. And I feel like it's 8 years ago, and I'm just like, what can I do to be a part of this? I want to be a part of this. And it's a really special thing, man, to be around. And it's, I'm glad to be able to be experiencing it.
Well, we talked about Tola. It's Cherrybone this weekend, right? That's a Tola tournament.
Yes.
The premier guys have the weekend off. We won 3 in a row. Adam had the hat made. You've got a hat.
I do.
And we've won 4 of the last 5 because we won last year. And if I'm not mistaken, it's neck and neck at the top of the table right now with Reds 2 for this year. It's a really close competition. The guys are really into it. I mean, not everybody can make the premier side. In fact, you mentioned a tough selection decision this weekend for the Tola side. I can't imagine how hard the selection for the final premier side is going to be.
It's That's what, Bill, what you call one of those good problems to have. Uh,
Cadillac problem.
we've been there when you're calling old boys. I one of the guys I have the utmost respect for, Joe Bailey, always answer the phone. Hey Joe, we can't forfeit this match, man. We need you to show up, and he's coming. But we've been there before. But to have like this level, this group of guys that usually you would say, oh, slotted, that guy's in. Oh no, he's competing with everything he has to make this side, and everybody be wanting to be out there, man. That's what sport is about. That's why we
Yep.
love it, right? And so
And
it's
depth.
fantastic, and this weekend will be no different. And that's being coached by some of those guys in what we call whiskey, the ones. And so it's a really special thing.
I think it's amazing. It's nice to see the depth. It's nice to see the energy. I'm kind of like you. I don't 100% get sevens, having been a forward my entire career, but I know the younger guys in the backs love it because there's space to run and space to move the ball around. And, this year with the infusion of talent, I see other guys that in the past, might have had to try to do things that they weren't comfortable with outside themselves, now can just play their own role and excel in what their strengths are. And I see Russ Webb coaching on the field. I see how Ty Landry is using his people. And it just seems to me that everybody is very comfortable in their roles. And to have 3 teams at Bloodfest, 3 teams at Choctaw, I think next week we're going to send a team up to, I guess it's Oklahoma, isn't it, for that last tournament up there? And then there's
No,
sevens.
it's in Shreveport. It's the
All right,
Louisiana
pardon me.
tournament.
So
Always the
Shreveport,
last one. It's Riverboat Sevens. Always
but
the
there's
last.
gonna there's gonna be a team at Sevens by the Sea too, and that
Yeah,
seems to have points
present
attached to it.
present company. It's far from over, man. I really hope if we get anything here is I'm sure that you're paying attention knowing, but knowing like, hey, there's a special thing going on here. It's a great time to be a Hun, with rugby being played on the field this summer. Whatever, like clear your schedule wherever you are in the world, to watch that premier side play at nationals. I think that's August 14th, that weekend, the second weekend of August. It's a special time to be there. This is a special group. We've had great groups before. I mean, I can think of right before in 2016 we went to nationals. 2017, immediately after the national championship, went to nationals in sevens. The 15s national championship went to nationals in sevens. Then you'll remember, I think you were there, the Seattle team. What was that, 2021? That Adam took and had a great, I think, fifth place. Beat Life West in that epic game, and won a lot of big games there. And then last year going, and putting up a very respectable performance. And this team has a lot of returners, but it's even better than that. So it's exactly what you want to see. It's a special time to be a Hun right now, and to be out there at Nixon, and to follow these guys around, and just seeing how much they buy in, man. I'm just to again give an example, an anecdote from my own self. It's like, man, I'm out there last night and I'm thinking, oh, it's easy to be like, oh, I've been waiting to get all my Brian Wellborn old man minutes, and show up a little bit late to training or do whatever you want. And as soon as you get in there, man, you're like, I want to be a part of this, man. Oh, I got to work on my pass. I'm out there trying to get a 10-meter pass as much as I can to keep up, and to just like to show your worth. And it's a special thing. It's just so invigorating, and a lot of credit to everybody involved. But especially, it's the players, man, that buy in. It starts with coaching from top down, but the players really buy in, and they are the backbone of that. And seeing guys like Daytwan, real tall fella who's playing on out on the wing and getting a lot of those restarts, doing a lot of the hard work, playing some prop too. Don't really know him that well, and it's amazing just to be there as a fan and doing the broadcast, which is a passion of mine. Is is like, oh man, and we've got this guy, right? And it's Demonte. I call him Daymare. Some of the tries he had at Bloodfest, just chopping through there. You can go on each and every name, man. I want to make trading cards for him. It's so much fun just to be a fan and to be out there and to be a part of it and to talk to you about it and our breakdowns. And so it's a lot of fun.
I don't want to spend too much time on this, but you are really good and really fun with those broadcasts. I think you have a talent for it, not just the play by play and the general comments, but you have a lot of little tidbits and you explain a lot of little in between. You call it inside baseball. I really applaud you for that. You know, we've run out this 30 minutes already. You and I could do this for hours. I put up my favorite Huns Brotherhood picture because you don't know who these guys are per se, but they're out there hugging after practice in the light, you know, coming together like we do every practice. For me, the Huns have always been about brotherhood, and I think that you know if you look at the COVID year when we were top of the table and nobody had any ringers, I think it was because our team came together and our brotherhood won out. And we've talked about how that can win you matches. There was a big final recently when you know, perhaps brotherhood of one team was what really put them over the top against a heavily favored adversary. So, why don't you talk a little bit about your experience with Huns Brotherhood and what it means to you and that type of thing?
Yeah, we could do this forever, and I appreciate that. So I'll try to be a bit more terse. And thank you for the compliment on the broadcasting. It's
I'm
always
the most long winded guy on the club, tied with Kirk Tate, so I can't criticize anybody.
well, man, I mentioned in that story about moving to Austin and kind of trying to find my place and find my fit and showing up to rugby in the Huns that first time, man, and not knowing if a rugby ball had laces on it or not, nothing about the sport. Uh, it's changed my life. I mean, dude, talk about the brotherhood aspect of it. You know, I was in Demetrio's wedding. I've been to a number of Huns weddings and made lifelong, just inseparable friends there. Guy like Andrew Heller, always a close friend, but you know, believed in me and got me a job recommendation that really, you know, frankly, changed my life and life situation and the trajectory that I thought I was on as a man, as a professional, is there. But just on the field, it is there's nothing quite like it, man. As far as like, you know, I can talk to any old boy and I always love doing that in our old boys games and seeing them out there and just makes me so I want to know the history of it and what Jack Bloom, what was it like, you know, who is this guy like, right? And talking to you about one of my favorite characters, I'd be remiss if I didn't say his name, John T. Reese. Just hearing every story possible about him and Goat and Kevin Beadle and the Acunas and that part, but this generation that we have here, that I call the kind of still in the wings of it, the Adam Scheidler era, and and that's the guy who, you know, him and Wheezy and other names, but I'll leave it there for effect, is they haven't given up on the club, man. And it's really easy to say for some of those guys, for yourself, for other Huns, you know, Nico Martinez, I don't want to keep going with names, but that is what makes a club. That's what makes it so special when we're showing up, as we did last year, the Huns, and now we'll do it again to Wisconsin to play, is having this like legacy of what it's been like before. And those guys knowing each other, buying in, and they want to know everybody. So being a Hun is a very special thing. I'm one of those rugby on the field. I want to produce. I want to play. I want us to be at our best. But then at the same time, you look at the big tent out there, what we're calling the Kirk Tate big tent, that I call it the house that Wheezy built. The shade structure is phenomenal. And it is just a part of passion and a love for this sport. And the Valkyries, of course, are tied into that as well. That man, I remember talking to Kirk Tate after my maybe second training. We're at Nasty's. Another thing I'm glad I got to experience. And I was like, man, I hope I can stay around, be around. And Kirk Tate said, man, you're hooked. And it's because of the culture out there, and that's why it's one of our three pillars of culture of what we want to be and who we stand for.
Well, I talk about it a lot. I couldn't have said it better. I'm trying to keep these things under a half an hour. I've already blown it. It's great to talk rugby with you, man. Uh, I think you're a club man, and there's a lot of core guys that are out there all the time. You, Ed Benson, Edwin, Wheezy, Hansel, Doormat. You mentioned Scheidler. Y'all are all one way or another taters in Kirk Tate's MO. And Kirk is one of the few guys along the way, and there have been about 5 or 6 of them that really, really got what Pat was about with the Big Tent, including everybody. Some other clubs turn people away. We don't do that. If you're a Hun, you're a Hun. And I love talking rugby with you. Anything you want to say to the guys or in
Yeah, I
general
want to
before we close out?
say, thank you for that. I want to say that it's especially, I think it's worth noting, and I'd like, you and I can put our heads together with some others and do it. I think the greatest compliment you can give, like you just gave to me, and I say thank you again, is to be a club man. That's something that Luis Sanchez Wheezy has always said, and it's been something I want to hold myself to forever. And he'll give me, rightfully so, a hard time if he thinks I'm not showing up to enough work parties or doing this, and I'm always wanting to make that. And my last words will say is that you mentioned some stalwart names. You left Demetrio out of there. Definitely needs to be mentioned.
I apologize, Demetrio. Don't hold it
His
against me. By the way, congrats on your baby, brother.
yeah. That's enough about him. Is You know who is a clubman right now is guys like that. Some of these old boys may not know because they're not around as much in the summer, but Ricky Chestnutwood almost he almost lives at the field and is doing everything. Nick Taylor, Austin Willis, uh, Christian Alvarez, like these guys, and I'm forgetting names, but Kaya, who's a D2 flanker, are out there, and Colton Neal, like doing as much as they can for the club. And it is that continued generation, man. Like when I'm done and I look back on it, like, we've talked about it before. We'll save it for like another podcast or a session at some ABW spot. Is the eras I've been through. But what makes me proud, I know what makes you proud, and all of the old boys is what goes behind when we do hang them up eventually. Not that I'm close to that, but when you're done, what's grown behind you, and we can already see that. So real credit to the what's been built in the past and who's currently carrying the mantle of this group we have. It's very special, and it's an honor to be around. Thank you for having me for this conversation. We can spread out the belts. I hope it's some quality content for our friends and the Huns rugby community out there. And I sure appreciate you.
Well, Biff, I appreciate you too. And it's funny. We're all a bunch of stubborn type AAA knuckleheads trying to swim and row in the same direction. And I've enjoyed getting to know you over the years and getting to know all the young guys and being involved again. I'm going to slide as we close out and let everybody look at all of our sponsors and thank them for sponsoring us. Van Diver's done a great job signing some of these new sponsors up. We have a lot of the old usual suspects up there. And Biff, can't thank you enough for coming on. And I'm looking forward to what this group does the last couple of TOLA tournaments and then at Nationals. That'll be a lot of fun. Thanks very much, man.
Thank you, Bill, and go to Latchkey, boys. See ya.